Really, really good. Proud of you.
Cool.
Really, really nice job.
You're not fully proud, kinda.
I'm
Kinda proud.
Look, for your first side, was a perfect no, but she made plays, she operated. Shedeur he's a very impressive young man. He's poised, he's calm, he's smart. You can tell that he's been raised by, really quite honestly, a Hall of Fame dad. Look, we're going to get to know him even more.
Andrew Berry is back and stunned everyone with a bold call. He bumped Shedeur Sanders ahead of Dillon Gabriel, jumping him from the 3rd spot to the 2nd. Here's the twist. Berry is all in on Shedeur, and it's intentional. He was the one inside the Browns organization who pushed for Shedeur to join the team. We saw the signs in the preseason. Berry clearly wanted Shedeur Sanders to break through and succeed in the NFL.
In regards to Shedeur and Theon's not going to interfere. Theon's not going to be calling the coach. Theon's not going to be commenting about Shedeur while he's in Colorado. Lou, I think there's a lot of just fake news out there.
All spring, Andrew Berry zeroed in on Shedeur Sanders. His initial plan was to get him in the 1st or 2nd round. When the board didn't break that way, you could see the urgency. By round 5, Berry pushed the issue. He pressed the Haslams to greenlight the pick and bring Shedeur to Cleveland. His pitch covered more than arm talent and processing speed. He emphasized Shedeur's market presence and ability to lift the franchise's profile. That combination sealed it, and the Browns made the move. From there, Shedeur quickly became one of the team's most visible figures, which many around the league expected. Cleveland then moved Kenny Pickett, narrowing the depth chart traffic and giving Shedeur a cleaner runway to compete for meaningful snaps. The message was simple: opportunity is coming, and the path is clear. After a strong preseason debut, Berry sought Shedeur out and delivered direct praise. That wasn't a routine pat on the back, it was a deliberate public endorsement. It signaled how the Browns view him, not just as another quarterback on the roster, but as a priority investment with both on-field upside and off-field impact. The organization's actions, draft capital, roster moves, and visible support line up behind the same idea. They're betting on Shedeur Sanders and intend to give him every chance to grow into a central piece of this team.
Really, really good. Proud of you.
Cool.
Really, really nice job.
You're not fully proud, kinda.
I'm
Kinda proud.
Look, for your first side, it was a perfect no, but she made plays, she operated, it just stacked.
I love when you tell the facts, dude. No, but it's okay.
Listen, you did a nice job.
Andrew Berry's bet on Shedeur Sanders is aging well, and the media is starting to echo that view. Mary Kay Cabot recently argued that Shedeur is the primary reason the Cleveland Browns remain in the conversation after a rough year. In her view, amid team-wide struggles, it's Sanders' presence, his profile, buzz, and flashes that kept Cleveland from slipping out of the spotlight entirely. Without him, she suggests, the Browns likely drift off the national radar. That ripple effect validates Berry's aggressive stance. The move wasn't just about a depth chart, it was about relevance and upside. Cabot also underscored that Shedeur isn't merely a headline, he's a quarterback with real runway to grow. His tools and poise are too substantial for Cleveland to park on the sidelines, and she pushed for a genuine opportunity to see what he can be with proper support. The calculus is straightforward. If he meets expectations, the Browns have a young centerpiece. If he doesn't, the organization can still reassess and pivot. Either way, the signal is clear. Berry's conviction in Shedeur Sanders has positioned Cleveland to capture attention now, while exploring a ceiling that could reshape the team's future.
It was too much value to pass up there, a developmental quarterback that they could take a look at and just kind of see what they had.
Right now, his upside clearly outweighs the downside. It's a bet the team can't ignore. After Shedeur Sanders' tough preseason outing, when critics jumped in, Andrew Berry didn't let it drift. Instead of excuses, he acted. He pulled the entire offensive line that had been on the field with Shedeur. That decision shook the building and made the front office's stance obvious. Protect the quarterback, give him a fair evaluation, and set him up to succeed. It signaled full investment in his development. Berry's move wasn't just a swap of personnel, it set a standard. He pushed for accountability, demanded changes, and focused on building a setting where Shedeur can grow instead of being put in losing spots. It's one of the strongest steps in reshaping the Browns roster and shows real trust in Shedeur's trajectory. There's also a bigger plan here. These choices aren't only about one game. They're tied to the long-term quarterback picture. With Dillon Gabriel's physical limitations and Kenny Pickett gone, the front office knows it needs a quarterback who can handle NFL speed and punishment. The post-Joe Flacco roadmap depends on getting this decision right. After all of that, Kevin Stefanski's latest comments flipped the tone. He's now publicly backing Shedeur's growth, regardless of outside noise. That's notable because Stefanski previously downplayed Shedeur's upside and critiqued him. With Pickett out of the mix, the focus has shifted. Shedeur's size, strength, and on-field tools are giving him a real edge over Gabriel. While there are ongoing questions about Gabriel's frame, Shedeur looks like the more complete option. That difference could be what pushes him up the Browns' depth chart.
I don't concern myself with outside type of things, but I'm committed to his development, just like all of our rookies. So we'll continue to focus on getting our guys better, and that's what we'll stay committed to, and that's what's important to me.
TJ Houshmandzadeh has weighed in too, saying the heat on Kevin Stefanski is rising, and a lot of it stems from Andrew Berry's aggressive choices. Houshmandzadeh pointed out that the microscope on Cleveland's quarterback plan is getting sharper, leaving Stefanski with little room for error. His warning was direct. If Stefanski keeps capping Shedeur Sanders' role or downplaying his importance, it could put his job at risk. With the front office and fan base tracking every move and Berry firmly behind Shedeur, any attempt to slow him down could push Stefanski onto the hot seat. Bottom line, Berry's steadfast backing of Shedeur Sanders now defines the Browns' quarterback landscape, and the ripple effects are everywhere. From the early draft push to the decisive preseason calls, Berry has made it clear he intends to give Shedeur a real runway. That stance hasn't just shifted the depth chart, it's also forced key figures, Stefanski included, to recalibrate their approach. What used to be a conversation full of doubts about Shedeur's ceiling has turned into a high-stakes pivot point, with Berry's conviction driving the agenda. As the pressure builds, Stefanski stands at a decision point. The spotlight on Shedeur, the expectations from fans, and the backing from the front office leave minimal margin for missteps. Stefanski has to balance his system with the reality that Berry's faith in Shedeur is now central to the team's direction. The future of the position in Cleveland may hinge on how well Stefanski manages that balance. With Berry all in, the trajectory looks promising, but Stefanski's choices in the coming months will determine whether Shedeur's rise takes off or stalls. What's your read on Andrew Berry's aggressive approach and the pressure on Kevin Stefanski? Do you back Berry's unwavering commitment to Shedeur Sanders? Or is it too much risk for a young quarterback? And how do you feel about Stefanski's shift in tone, given his earlier skepticism? Share your take below. Does this pressure cooker sharpen the Browns, or set them up to stumble?
Was out there, I talked to Denzel Ward.
Yeah.
I talked to some. Wait, I didn't say the name. But anyway, I done talked to some people. He looked different. There's a difference when that young bull is out there spinning that ball. You hear me? Mm-hmm. Difference. I'm talking about football. I ain't talking about no media and all that hoopla and all them. On Twitter they putting up the numbers. Some he with 10 for 12 for 2 touchdowns. I'm talking about when he's at the helm, he looks different. Whether he's going with the first team, second team, or third team, it don't matter.
From being buried on the depth chart as a fourth stringer to suddenly becoming a standout on the second team, Shedeur Sanders just pulled off the most impressive quarterback comeback since Tom Brady made the world believe he wasn't finished at 40.
What is it going to take for you to just buy in to Shedeur Sanders when players all around him are telling you how different he looks, how good he looked, how he just has that aura to him? Because it seems like all the players that are around Shedeur Sanders have nothing but great things to say about him and love him. Because again, he clearly just looks different than the rest of the competition that we've seen. And like I said, the last time I've seen guys go for or say things about a certain player like that, it was Baker Mayfield. So could 12 be that guy? How long until we see 12? Because I feel like it's just a matter of...
The same haters who were cheering when he got dropped to fourth string are now scrambling for excuses faster than a glitchy Wi-Fi during the Super Bowl. Get ready, because this isn't just a step up on the depth chart. It's a serious reality check that's got the critics choking on their own words with a big helping of humble pie.
Being said, I see some balls coming out of Shedeur Sanders at that game, and I'm like, kind of looks like a guy.
Yeah, I'm reading.
He can sling it.
I see him, some of the veterans, how they talk to him, mic'd up, see what he's doing in the community.
Yep.
You talking about Njoku there?
Njoku, Mike Knapp. Yeah, once you see, different little interactions and things like that, I know he has the talent. We'll see. It'll be a competition that usually brings the best out of guys, especially young guys. So I'm interested to see how that quarterback situation.
I've heard he's been outstanding.
The Cleveland Browns training camp just turned into the most talked about event in town. All thanks to Shedeur Sanders, who took his spot as fourth string and used it as motivation for one of the most impressive rises the NFL has seen in years. While everyone was busy counting him out and calling his career dead, Sanders was quietly putting together a performance so good that coaches are saying they haven't witnessed anything like it in the last 15 years.
Drafted in the 5th round, all that means nothing when it's time to play football and that whistle blows. He looks different than the rest of the competition. That's what I heard. And I'm talking from a, not Brother Ward, I'm just talking about from sources that's in that room, that's on that field, that's playing the sport. Man, come on, man.
Yep, coaches with decades of experience are honestly scratching their heads, trying to figure out how someone goes from being a practice squad afterthought to seriously competing for a starting spot in just a few weeks.
Thing is, they never planned on taking him. The problem is, like Ocho Cinco said, you got somebody that has endeared himself to the locker room. And guess what? The difference between him and Tim Tebow, the biggest one, is he can play. He can throw the ball. Tim Tebow running around being an H-back, he can throw the ball. And he's done everything he needs to do. He ain't saying nothing. He ain't rocking the boat. He ain't mad about the reps. He ain't mad about none of that. All the people out there want to see is this, like Tyver said earlier. We want to see what he can do with Jerry Jeudy.
That's it.
I want to see what he can do with David Njoku. I want to see him with Junkins. I want to see him with the first running backs. If you are cooking, if you are beating down the doors with the 3s and 4s, guess what? You deserve more. That was a bar. It rhymed. It was.
Remember when Mary Kay Cabot dropped that bombshell report saying Shedeur Sanders was the 4th string quarterback? The internet blew up faster than a Michael Bay explosion. Critics came out of nowhere, like ants at a picnic, rushing to call his NFL dreams dead on arrival. They claimed he was only shining against guys who'd either end up on practice squads or be out of the league by September. They pointed out he wasn't getting reps in 11-on-11 drills and said he needed to earn his way up the depth chart.
Dude, listen, the guy, all I can say is that he goes where the ball's supposed to go and it looks the way it's supposed to look. Mm-hmm. And when I hear that tells me it sounds like the Browns may have got a steal with Shedeur Sanders in the 5th round because I think he'll have a chance. I'm not saying he's going to be the starting quarterback in September, like week 1 or 2 or whatever it may be early in the year, but I think he's got a chance to develop into something that hopefully would preclude them from having to draft a quarterback first overall or top 5 next year.
He said, I see some balls coming out of Shedeur Sanders at that kid, and I'm like, kind of looks like a guy.
Yeah, I'm reading.
He can sling it.
I see him, some of the veterans, how they talk to him, mic'd up, see what he's doing in the community.
Yep. You talking about Njoku there?
Njoku, Mike Napier. Once you see, different little interactions and things like that, I know he has the talent. We'll see. It'll be a competition that usually brings the best out of guys, especially young guys. So I'm interested to see how that quarterback situation.
I've heard he's been outstanding.
Funny how the tables have turned. Those same critics are now watching Sanders climb the depth chart like he's scaling Mount Everest with rocket boosters. The guy they wrote off is now the one they can't stop paying attention to. Every completion sends a message. Every perfect throw is a reminder that real talent doesn't stay hidden forever. And with every practice, he's showing that maybe, just maybe, the Browns stumbled upon their hidden gem.
One thing for the fans to sit here and hype up Shedeur Sanders because we all know how we get about certain players that we like. But it's another thing when you hear it from players who are actually on the field, who are actually in the locker room, who are actually next to this guy every single day. Because I'm sure we've all seen the quote by now by Chad Johnson when they were on the nightcap, and he talked to some young bulls. He talked to Denzel Ward. He didn't want to give away his name, but he already did it. And he said that Denzel Ward says he looks different from the rest of the competition. We've already been seeing.
When word got out that Shedeur Sanders officially moved up to second-team reps, passing Dylan Gabriel along the way, the shockwaves hit from Cleveland all the way to Canton. This wasn't just some small roster tweak, this was huge. One day he's throwing passes to practice squad guys, and the next he's running with the second team, putting real pressure on the starting quarterback spot. The promotion came after Sanders completely dominated minicamp, showing toughness, leadership, and total control on the field. His passes were right on target, hitting receivers in stride. His decision-making was sharp as a blade, and his grasp of the playbook had coaches nodding like proud parents at a school play. But this wasn't beginner's luck. It was steady, Calculated execution that the coaching staff just couldn't ignore.
And I don't know, there was never no one thought he was this like malcontent or like a bag. It wasn't.
That was the word,
That was kind of what was being said. That was kind of what was being said.
No. The pre-draft process was so unorthodox that he didn't go through it all like everyone else did. And I think there's a lot that we can look back on this thing, especially if he becomes a star in this league and say, you could point fingers in a million ways. Not having a pure agent, not having the workouts that everyone else did, going to these teams, not necessarily being as willing to throw the ball when asked at the All-Star games, like that kind of stuff I think might have stung him, it might have turned teams off, but I know.
When Stephen A. Smith starts singing your praises, that's when you know you've officially arrived. The ESPN personality, famous for his fiery takes and no-nonsense analysis, didn't just mention Sanders. He gave him the full Stephen A. treatment. He praised Sanders not only for his top-tier football skills, but also for the intangibles that separate the good from the great. This kid's mindset puts him ahead of the pack, Stephen said, with the confidence of someone who's seen enough football to spot greatness from a mile away. He pointed out Sanders' composure, mental toughness, and relentless drive to compete at the highest level. When Stephen A. says, "It's not just about throws and stats anymore," you better believe the whole football world is paying attention.
But this stuff wasn't made up. I covered the draft for ESPN. I'm sitting on the desk. It's Shefty, it's Mel, it's me, it's Lewis. I heard some of the same things that Deion Sanders is talking about. And S.A. and Kenton, you know this, we all have relationships. We all have people who tell us information, they help us prepare to do our job. I heard some of the same things. Some of these things weren't necessarily made up, at least I don't think, from the people that I trust who told me these things. And so
I'm outraged, I'm sickened, and I'm saddened. By the way, Shedeur continues to be treated in the National Football League now by those sorry-ass Browns and sorry-ass Kevin Stefanski.
I understand in a situation like that, when it comes to the 3s and 4s that you're playing with that aren't going to be on the squad and not going to make the team, give your quarterback a chance. Okay, you know what? You know they can't hold up that long? Let's play quick game. Let's play quick game just to get Shedeur in the goddamn rhythm. But no, you come out, calling regular offensive plays.
When they're at practice, Shedeur Sanders is not their priority. When he is at practice, he was staying hours beforehand, leaving hours later.
Shedeur Sanders wasn't just tossed into the game last night, he was dropped into a no-win setup. Nothing about it felt accidental. From his first snap, it looked like one player against the entire machine. The Cleveland Browns, led by head coach Kevin Stefanski, seemed intent on cooling the hype and slowing his momentum. Instead, the plan backfired. The performance and the circumstances around it have sparked a wave of scrutiny, with analysts and reporters now calling out Stefanski and the Browns front office for engineering a preseason situation that stacked the deck against Shedeur.
I'm going to answer this question by saying Shedeur Sanders, and I'm going to tell you why. I think he's being set up to...
Stephen A. Smith said from the outset that the entire preseason would be engineered to undermine Shedeur Sanders. He argued that even starting the first preseason game was part of a plan to make him stumble, fueling the idea that he's just a 5th-round pick, and validating the skeptics. Whether that blueprint existed before the games kicked off or not, it didn't stop there. Now, attention has turned to Kevin Stefanski and the Cleveland Browns for placing Shedeur in an unfamiliar system and circumstances that set him up to falter. Garrett Bush echoed that criticism, noting that regardless of how hard Shedeur worked before and after practices, he was never treated as a true priority in their plans.
When they're at practice, Shedeur Sanders is not their priority. When he is at practice, he was staying hours beforehand, leaving hours later.
Kevin Stefanski doubled down, saying his group was executing and placing the responsibility squarely on Shedeur Sanders for the miscues. When pressed on whether having Shedeur work all week with 3rd and 4th team units contributed to the mistakes, Stefanski wouldn't budge. Rather than acknowledge that first team reps might have better prepared a rookie, he waved off the idea and reiterated that his job is to develop young players. But what kind of development plan withholds meaningful snaps with starters, then drops a promising prospect into live action and expects him to run concepts he's never practiced with them.
All of our players, Mary Kay, there's things that we can do better, and there's some good moments out there, but that's what our job as coaches, to develop.
Skip Bayless weighed in as well, blasting the Cleveland Browns for their handling of Shedeur Sanders and calling it just about the worst approach imaginable. He said the issues fit a troubling pattern under Kevin Stefanski, with Sanders repeatedly mishandled instead of developed. In Bayless's view, this wasn't a one-off mistake. Sanders hasn't been given real opportunities or meaningful support. That treatment has only increased the pressure and made it even harder for him to succeed.
I'm outraged, I'm sickened, and I'm saddened by the way Shedeur continues to be treated in the National Football League.
Chad Johnson added that by surrounding Shedeur Sanders with offensive players unlikely to make the roster, Kevin Stefanski effectively stacked the deck against him. He argued that even a quarterback of Tom Brady's caliber would have struggled in that setup. Analysts have echoed the point, putting the blame on the coaching staff for failing to give Shedeur a fair platform to succeed. Ochocinco also warned that critics would soon brand Shedeur a failure and dismiss him as a fifth-string option, while ignoring the core problem, who engineered the situation in the first place. Despite the noise, he framed the backlash as part of a broader effort to drag Shedeur down, noting that some people seem more intent on tearing him apart than acknowledging the circumstances that shaped his performance.
You just beat the guy. And that's okay. You get paid, he gets paid. Sometimes Ocho just gonna win because Ocho was just the better player. Sometimes the defensive back is gonna win. He wins some, you win more than you lose.
Despite the noise, Shedeur Sanders never criticized head coach Kevin Stefanski or anyone else. He put the outcome on himself and focused on what he could control. He acknowledged there was plenty to clean up and committed to doing the work. He framed it as a learning opportunity, refusing to let one preseason outing define him. Like a veteran, he owned the mistakes, recognizing he needed better eye discipline on those designed runs and smarter decisions to keep the offense on schedule. He even took responsibility for every sack, stating they were on him. The response was measured and mature, reflecting his grasp of the position and his readiness to improve.
No, I gotta watch the film, honestly. I can't say what it was. It's definitely different places where I could got my eyes in better spots and got to the progressions quicker and regardless of anything, so all those sacks, they definitely on me.
How long can Shedeur Sanders keep absorbing the blame on his own? How long before the decision makers who've steered this process either stand up for him or at least grant him a fair look? More and more voices around the league see this as deliberate. Shedeur cleared the first gauntlet, but he's still tangled in the same net. That's the core problem. Not one preseason outing, but an apparatus that keeps tilting the field. The treatment of Shedeur Sanders forces hard questions about fairness, opportunity, and bias in the NFL. Despite the obstacles placed in front of him, he's responded with poise, owning his performance, identifying areas to improve, and committing to growth. But the larger issue isn't his willingness to learn, it's the structure around him that keeps narrowing his margin for success. His experience with the Browns, being dropped into situations where failure felt pre-written, points to deeper systemic habits. Young players, especially those who don't fit a preferred narrative, get boxed in, judged early, and developed late. This isn't only one quarterback's story. It mirrors what countless prospects face when perception, politics, or preconceived roles outweigh on-field evaluation. As analysts and commentators continue to spotlight what's happening, it's clear the conversation about Shedeur Sanders has moved beyond a single depth chart debate. It's about dismantling baked-in biases and delivering a truly even playing field. Shedeur's resilience is real and admirable. The unanswered question is whether the system will evolve fast enough to let players like him do more than survive so they can finally thrive. What do you think?